Start with start with Adam. Since you were the first one to raise your hand, you get the first question.
Well, Jamison, thanks for doing this. You're the
Yep.
first person I think that's ever done this that was early, so that doesn't happen often. But just in general, what has this week been like for you leading into the weekend? I'm sure we're probably making a pretty big deal out of something that I don't know exactly how you feel about it, but like what has it been like kind of getting ready for seeing your old team here on Sunday?
Yeah, for sure. You obviously have thoughts about that, but I think it's just the first Big Ten game of the season. That's how we're looking at it. And as a team, we got some things we need to improve on from the Central Michigan game and from games prior. And I think we're really looking forward to opening the Big Ten season at home, and then obviously playing a pretty solid Minnesota team. And then for me, it's a team that I know a lot of the guys and have been watching their games, so it's exciting. We're brothers on off the court, but then once we get on that court, it's going to be a battle out there.
How different do they look compared to last year? Obviously, there's some roster continuity, some new pieces as well. But like when you've watched them this season, how does it compare to what you remember being part of last year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in my 2 years in Minnesota was the depth piece. I think they're really deep now. They can go 8, 9 deep, and they have a lot of guys who can go out there and score the ball and shoot the ball. And then also, I think they're playing a lot faster this year too with the point guard that they have in Hawkins. So it's going to be a different game than last year. Obviously, with us coming in and beating Ohio State at the shot. So there's motivation for guys on the team. There's motivation for me. But it's opening Big Ten play, and we got to go out here and start this season off strong and continue to build towards what we're working towards.
All right, and we'll jump to Andy Backstrom and then Patrick Murphy. Andy.
Yeah, Jamison, you mentioned it. What do you remember from last year's game? Like, what sticks out to you? I know it was quite the finish in the shot for that one, and kind of what sticks out to you.
Yeah, I think just the overall atmosphere and the way we played. I think it was a good game. It was a Big Ten battle. Obviously, getting a win is something that's special on the road, especially in the Big Ten. You know how hard that is, and I think just the way Dawson played was really reminiscent that a good player, and that's who we have to stop. And he's the guy who's going to go out here and work his butt off and make sure everyone's in the right positions and be a leader out there. So that's the headless snake who we gotta stop. And I think that's the biggest thing I remember. And I think you can look at the last play of the game, whether it was a foul or whether it wasn't a foul, but ended up call going our way and then getting the win. So it was exciting to get a Big Ten win on the road, but times have changed now, and we got to go out here and get this win at home.
Yeah, and then Coach Holtman was saying that you're someone that doesn't want to like come in somewhere and overstep, and so it's been natural for you to kind of let things progress and get into your own groove offensively. But how important was a game like Santa Clara, where you did seem to take more of a offensive role, taking 18 shots, scoring 21 points, and how important was that for you?
Yeah, I think it's just playing in the flow of the game. Not to say that I'm not someone who's going to go out here and force shots, because that's not who I am. I think the biggest thing for me is just finding that rhythm, finding that groove, and shots presented themselves to me that game. And I think I took those shots and I took those opportunities, and that's what Coach Holtman wants me to do. He wants me to take those open opportunities and wherever I can score. And I think when you got guys like Roddy, you got guys like Bruce, Felix, Zed, guys like Scotty, guys like Dale, there's so many weapons on this team where we're all trying to figure it out. And I think that tournament in Florida, I think, has helped us a lot. And then obviously playing Central Michigan as well. And now we're flowing into Big Ten play where we're still figuring things out. But I think we got a good groove on what we want to do and what we're trying to accomplish offensively and defensively.
All right, we'll go Patrick Murphy and then Tim Miller on deck. Patrick.
Hey, Jamison. There was a time in college basketball, college sports in general, where playing your former team was rare, and it's obviously becoming more common with the transfer portal and whatnot. From a player's perspective, does it feel more normal to prepare for a game against your former team? I mean, it seems almost more like the pro game where that happens frequently than what we're used to in college. How do you guys see it from a player's perspective?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty normal. Obviously, you have your times with those guys, you have your time with the former team, but it's you moved on. Then I've moved on to a different team, so I'm looking at how can we as a team go out here and win this game. Obviously you have those guys that you have the coaching staff that and you've been with for 2 years, but in the end you have to focus on what your team needs to do, and that's kind of what I'm completely focused on. And yes, I'm playing my old team, but it's just another game. It's another Big Ten game out here.
Does the Ohio State coaching staff talk to you to get any scouting tips on guys that, like you said, them, but you want to help this team win? Do they talk to you a little bit more than maybe in the build-up for another game?
Oh yeah, for sure. Just because I know those guys and they talked about the Big Ten transfers they've had prior, that the way that they help. So I think there's a lot of things that I can help with too, and then just give the feedback that I see and help my teammates as well with personnel, with different stuff. But we've talked a little bit, but I think today will be big scouting day for us, so we'll see what happens there.
All right, we'll go to Tim Miller with Whitney Harding on deck. Tim.
Hey, Jamison, Tim Miller from the Views from the Shop podcast. Nice to meet you for the first time. I know you mentioned with Adam's question that, it's just another game. It's the first Big Ten game of the year. What is the sentiment that you have, or do you expect to have like any kind of feelings of revenge, maybe a little extreme, but like, how do you think that, you step out in the shop on Sunday? Like, what do you think your feelings will be toward Minnesota?
Yeah, I'm just going to go out here and play my game in the end. It's another opportunity to just go out here and play the game I love, and that's how I'm going to look at it. And obviously, I know a lot of those, like I said, I know a lot of those guys out there, so it's going to be fun to compete with them out on the court. But, I talked about it with these guys beforehand when I did transfers that, we're brothers off the court, and then on the court, we're rivals. And I think that's something that, we're all looking forward to. And I just can't wait to go out there and play the game. I'm feeling excited. It'll be a little bit different when we head to the barn, but I'm excited to go out here at the shot and just hopefully get a win.
Yeah, and then one other question, just what types of matchup advantages have you identified so far? I mean, obviously Minnesota really well. So is there anything that you personally or you think the team can exploit on Sunday?
I haven't looked at it yet. I mean, I've watched a lot of Minnesota's games, but that's up to the coaching staff and what they see too. I'll have my input when it comes to it, but in the end, we just got to go out there and execute the game plan that the coaches have for us. And I think they'll, with what we've been doing the past few games, I think they'll be ready to go, and the coaches are locked in on what's going on.
All right, we'll go to Whitney Harding, then Andy Anders. Whitney.
Hey, Jamison, thanks so much. I know you obviously weren't a part of this Ohio State team last year, but it was pretty clear to everybody when they hit Big Ten play, things started to kind of go off the rails a little bit. How are you guys going to make sure that doesn't happen this year, keep the momentum going through Big Ten play and not have that kind of fall apart like what happened last year?
Yeah, we're just focused on one game at a time. We're not looking ahead. We're staying present. We're staying where we're at right now. We're focusing on Minnesota. And obviously, like you said, it's a Big Ten game. And in the past, last year, Big Ten, Ohio State fell apart. But, we're working every day towards our goal. And I think if we just stay the course and stay consistent with what we're doing and what we want to accomplish, things will work out for us. And I don't think there's a feeling of satisfaction on this team. And I don't think there ever will be until we accomplish what we want. So I think that's something that, as the types of players we have, we're looking towards, just doing the things daily that we need to do to make sure that we're in the right positions and they're in the right place. So I think that's the biggest thing for us, is just staying in that moment and staying focused on that game at hand and not looking ahead and not looking in the past, just focused on what's at the now.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll go with Andy Anders. Andy.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, real quick on the court, where have you felt you've taken the biggest steps through these first 7 games, and where are you looking to improve as the season progresses here?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest improvement is just, make sure I'm getting everyone involved in that aspect of I'm seeing open guys, I'm not forcing shots, and I'm making sure that I'm making the right plays. And I think that's something that I've grown into. I feel like at times I've made the right plays, but at times I haven't made the right plays. And I think working with the coaches helped me with that. Watching film consistently is something that I've been doing. So it's still about growing. You're never going to be perfect, but I think right now it's just about continuing to grow into Big Ten play and then continuing to grow the rest of the year. And then once 2024 hits, we're off and rolling, and we're excited to see what goes on. But I think it's just consistently working and consistently making shots and keep working at that. Just to help this team in whatever aspect I can.
All right. Any other follow-ups? Adam, you want to jump in with one?
Sure, yeah. And going back to the Central Michigan game for a second, 8 rebounds for you in that game. And I know that was a talking point coming into the season, trying to get better on the glass. Where do you think you are as far as, just taking care of that aspect of the game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of improvement I can make at that aspect. I think we've talked about stats-wise with the coaches. They presented numbers to us as a team and us individually is something that we need to improve on. And I think last game was a step in the right direction, but there's still a lot more improvement I can do on rebounding, whether it is offensive rebounding or whether it is defensive rebounding, just showing that I can rebound the ball and then also help this team. And because that's in the end, that's what the team needs from me as well. Not just to score, not just to shoot. I need to be able to rebound and contribute to other aspects of the game.
And then do you keep in touch with guys from last year? I mean, I could see that being like your brothers, your teammates, your friends. Then also I could see that being a weird situation a little bit when you do go to a different school. Like, do you you talked about still being close with those guys. Do you still talk with guys, or is it kind of like, all right, we're in season, like I'll talk to you in March?
No, I still keep up with those guys. I think that's what the relationships I have, being there for 2 years and spending every day with those guys. You're never going to lose those relationships. And in the end, you want to make sure that those guys are being successful and you're helping them with whatever they need in the end. And just talking with those guys, big guys, Parker Fox, and, watching him play, obviously coming off of 2 ACLs is really cool to me, just because I've seen him grind those out, and I've seen him, be at rehab every day. And guys like Isaiah and another guy who I'm really tight with, and then Dawson as well. Like Isaiah was another guy who had back-to-back ACL tears. So just seeing those guys be successful and seeing those guys work through that, I mean, it's special just because of how much time and effort they had to put in, and how much, it is hard mentally just to come back from those injuries. So just to see them being successful is something that, is exciting to me, just because I lived it with them and I was there with them, and then also just always there with them talking. So yeah, you're in season, but once you play each other, that's when kind of communication, gets a little soft. But once we're after this game, communication will pick back up. So.
And because you mentioned it earlier, was it a block or was it a foul at the end last year?
I mean, the refs made the call. I'm not going to say too much about that.
Very well answered there. Steve Hellwagon, you got a question?
Yeah, Jamison. I got on a minute or two late, so sorry if this was already asked, but playing with Bruce Thornton and Roddy Gale, they're getting a lot of run right now as one of the better backcourts in the Big Ten, maybe even, around. So just what are your thoughts after 6 or 7 games playing with those guys? Like what are they doing that's really helped this team succeed so far, I suppose?
I think just leading in the end. I think Bruce has been a really good commander of this team, especially being a point guard. That's what you have to do. And I think what he's doing with the ball in his hands, creating for others, whether it's scoring for himself, creating for himself. And then Roddy as well. When he has the ball in his hands, he's explosive. The things he can do athletically and the things he can do around the rim and passing. I mean, you saw last game where it wasn't finishing. I mean, you can see what he does when he throws the ball at the Felix. He sees it well. And I think those two guys, I mean, from what they experienced last year as freshmen, I mean, they've made massive jumps in their sophomore year. And I think they're always hungry as well. They're always working. They always want more. And I think that's what makes them so special, is that they're never satisfied. And I think that's the mantra of this team, is that we're never satisfied. And they embody that fully.
Great. Thank you.
All right, we'll finish up with one more follow-up from Tim Miller. Tim.
Yeah, just a quick question. Obviously, the end of the season last year was great, but heading into this year, just off a disappointing season, has the beginning to this year, especially with beating Alabama, Santa Clara, and handling some mid-major teams, has that given you guys a jolt as you kind of head into Big Ten play, or have you seen the energy change much for you guys?
I would say, like I said earlier, we're just staying the course. We're staying present at the moment. You look back on what you did right or wrong in those games, but, we're not too focused on them, because we're always looking towards the next. You're always focusing on what's at hand. And I think that's what's special about this team I've talked about, is that, like you said, it could give us a jolt, but, we're staying even keeled through it, because we're just process driven. We're not worried about the results. We're worried about what we're doing in the now to make sure we get the results we want. So I think it's just, you could say it giving us a jolt, but everything's been the same with our attack to practice, with our attack to these games, is that we're not too high, we're never too low, because in the end, there's bigger things to accomplish.
Awesome. Jamison, thanks for your time this morning.
Yep.
Hopping on with us.